Jason Avant, who joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Jason from Inside the Birds and co-host of the Q&A show with Quentin Michael. What's up, Jason? What's going on? Thanks for joining us.
No problem. How you guys doing today?
We're doing well. A lot of positive vibes. We're excited. Eagles are in the postseason. So I guess we'll start here. Nice and simple. Overall thoughts on what you saw yesterday, and not just yesterday, but where the Birds are in a playoff spot.
The Eagles have figured out their formula in order to win. Early this year, a lot of people thought they would be, between 5 and 7, 8 games, probably for the entire season, not barely missing the playoffs or somewhere around that. And they had to figure out Jalen Hurts and figure out what their team was good at. They've kind of exhausted all those options and decided, okay, we're going to run the football in order to protect our quarterback, also play to the strength of our team, which is our offensive line and the running backs. And they did that, and they find themselves in the regular in the postseason. So I'm glad they were able to figure out all of those things. Also, Jonathan Gannon grew as well. He started to play more man later in the season, 8th game or so. We're going to press people on third downs, and the guys got a little more confidence concerning that. Got Rodney McLeod back, so I'm excited to see where they are and where they're going to do what they're going to do in the playoffs.
What did you see out of Jonathan Gannon specifically yesterday? Because the first half, if we're being honest, we probably thought we'd see another Derek Carr-like stat line or a Justin Herbert-like stat line at a Heineke, and that's not obviously acceptable. But then the second half, they just turned it around. So what do you see on why that happens? And then what did you see, yesterday in general, like the switch? What's going on there?
No, just like he's a conservative defense coordinator, and that's the gist of it. His goal is to stop the run, and that's why the Eagles have become top 10 in rushing defense, because his goal is to stop the run. It doesn't always help us in pass rush, but it does help us stop the run. And accompanied with that, a lot of times is a lot of zone coverage. And in the first half, our guys were just a little bit stagnant. And in the same spots and just being very conservative. And in the second half, we dialed up a few more blitzes. Guys were able to get some pressure, Josh Sweat in particular. And also our defensive backs begin to play tighter to the defenders, tighter to the receivers. And that's the gist of the game plan. You can play that way from start to finish. It's just that I think that he wants to throw a change of pace and have them guessing later in the game rather than the first half.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not against that in general. I just wish the first half maybe, or the quicker. I understand you want to keep other teams on their toes and you want to make them have to think about certain things. So when here comes a whole new level of intensity, you get overwhelmed a bit. But I just think we got to tweak it a little bit more. It's heading in the right direction. So if we're going to use, the assessment situation that we've done all season long for Hurts and Nick Sirianni, if we apply that to Gannon, it seems to be trending the right way. I need a little bit more out of him just from, me analyzing what he's doing. But let's get to Jalen Hurts. Yesterday, I thought he was in the pocket well. He was scanning the field well, rolled to the right and threw on the run to Dallas Goedert, Greg Ward a couple times. What are your thoughts on this quarterback right now as we enter a week that is up in the air right now due to all the COVID stuff, but just the way that he's been growing and adapting to the life of the pocket presence more and more each week?
Yeah, so his last 3 weeks, he's probably played his best football at quarterback, and you add the Broncos game and maybe another game beside that. But he's definitely growing. And I think him having an ankle injury kind of helped him out because he's running less and he's being forced to scan the field a little bit better. And his mechanics from after the bye week to now has been, a lot better in that, his feet are under him. He's taking the time out not to throw on the run as much. He's trying to plant and throw. And everything under 15 yards, he's really completing at a high percentage. And it's good. He had multiple games. I believe one game he would have missed like 2 passes if it wasn't for 3 drops. And then the next game he had 5 drops. So when you start to really break down his throwing over the last 3 games or so, he's playing as best he had the entire season. Like I said, 15 and in, he still has to get a lot better on deep passes and getting it up and down fast enough. When you don't have the strongest arm, you don't have a Josh Allen arm or Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes type of arm, you have to play with anticipation and timing. And in those moments, that's when you see the ball float. He's gotten away with 2 of them. One last week with Quez Watkins. The previous week before that, he got away with one with Goedert that came out and made a spectacular catch over a guy's helmet. So he's getting away with a few of those, but those are the ones that get picked off in the playoffs. But everything 15 and in, he's growing.
As a former player, what is the ceiling for DeVonta Smith?
I don't know. I can't tell you the exact ceiling, but his body type is similar to Chad Ochocinco's. Chad would have more weight than he does, but they have the same frame. Hopefully he can figure out a way to put on, 5, 7, 10 pounds. That can help him out a bunch. But in the right system, in the right scheme, he can be a problem, right? I think that you're going to have to figure out ways to manufacture offense for him. I think with the quarterback being Jalen Hurts and us still learning how to do some very, complex offensive sets, is kind of hard for him now at times because he has to play stationary. And playing stationary at 160 pounds is not the most ideal situation for him. He can win most of the time, but you want to get him free releases. And usually that comes with more game plan, high-level offensive concepts, and we don't have that now because of where we are in our development as a young team. So I think his growth will happen, and I think I would say like a Chad Ochocinco is probably his style.
When you look at a player like Jalen Reagor, do you see someone that has a skill set that can work in this league? Is it more mental? Where do you see the Jalen Reagor experience to this point? Because obviously, he doesn't have a lot of confidence right now. He had some major drops. But when you analyze his play, do you see something that can work? It's just getting it out of him? Or is it just, hey, maybe it's just not all there as a full package?
Yeah, so he's segmented. As of right now, he's segmented. Like what I mean by that is that you see the talent, you see his ability to run with the ball, you see how strong he is, you see those things and why they could have drafted him that high, but it hasn't been put together yet. And so you begin to think, okay, what are we doing as a coaching staff in order to get the best play out of him? Can he be salvaged? I think that a lot of it is mental at this point because he's hearing the Justin Jefferson comparisons. He's hearing the bickering and the drops and all of those things. And you can tell by his comments. You can tell by his posts. You can tell by the way that he handles the game and the game after the drops, letting punts, go over his head or not fielding them, kickoffs and things of that nature. You can tell it's getting to him. So do I think that he can become a player? I think that he can, but he has to get it right in between his ears. And that's the bottom line. Some guys need to just humble themselves and go back to the drawing board and try to figure out from that standpoint because he has all the ingredients. Can he put those ingredients together? And that's mental. And I think a lot of this is mental with him.
We're talking to Jason Avant on the Comcast Business Hotline, and since we're on the conversation of wide receivers, I feel I have to throw Quez Watkins in there. He's fast, he's speedy, he can get by defenders. Still a lot to work on. You think that he could take that next step next year to take a bigger stride? Because, look, there's some conversation on you have some cap space, you have some draft picks. Getting somebody opposite of DeVonta Smith can definitely help out this offense even more because right now it's basically Dallas Goedert and DeVonta Smith being the most reliable pieces. Where does he stand in your eyes?
Yeah, they need a reliable guy that can get open stationary. That's what they need. They need a reliable receiver that can get open stationary. Quez has the ability, long speed, definitely explosive, but he's still learning a bunch as well. So he puts some balls on the ground that he shouldn't. But he's not afraid of the moment, and I'm liking his growth and his development, especially for where they drafted him. He's basically starting right now. He's basically taking Jalen Reagor's, role. And so I'm liking the way where he's trending. I just think that he needs more targets. And based on this offense, he's not going to get as many targets as he would like because they spend so much time running the football because of what we're playing with up front and who our quarterback is under center. So he's going to get 2-3 targets a game, and he has to figure out a way to manufacture some offense with that and be productive. So can he? He needs more reps, and unfortunately, with the offense that we're running, it's going to be slim to none when it comes to the third receiver getting the ball.
I'll leave you with this. I asked Brian Westbrook the same question earlier in the show, and I just love to hear perspectives of people who've been in the locker room before. When Jason Kelce runs a message like that towards a team, Brian Westbrook was like, I'm not big of a message guy, but I understand the value. If you were sitting in that message or in that, when he was making that type of speech, would that have impacted you heavily?
I'm always open and listening. After a while, I understand what Westbrook is saying. You're more open to a lot of rah-rah speeches and stuff like that as you get younger. I mean, as you're younger, as you get older, you've heard everything. So me, it was more so about my job and being ready for the game. I would sit there and listen and make sure, but it didn't affect me the same way when I was a younger player. So, but coming from Jason Kelce, everything has a little bit more weight because it's a guy that literally sacrifices for the team. He will always be a leader on that team, and he's not going to ask you to do something that he's not willing to do himself. So there's an automatic respect when it comes to him talking. So there is value in that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, that's Jason Avant, who is a co-host of the Q&A show on the Inside the Birds platform. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today, Jace. Thanks so much.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you, guys. Go Birds. Glad to be in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Thanks you. That is Jason Avant, who joined us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Comcast Business, every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business keep you ready for what's next. So a common theme there, Tom, about the message. I find that fascinating because I know I get into debates with people all the time about sports and professionalism and, the coach waving pom-poms compared to players just internally having that fire and that drive. And, specifically in the NBA and all, it's like, the power of the head coach. And, I feel that in this, once you get to a certain point in these leagues, it's about what you have inside of you to come prepared to play. Like, this isn't AAU, U16, and I'm part of this. Look, the highest I went was college hockey, right? So I played D3 NCAA college hockey. And I think a lot of it, we never got to that level because it's such a rare percentage. But when you're there for a reason because you are wired mentally to such a different level that these coaches, you hear everything in the book. You hear all these rallies. You hear all these cries and these motivational speeches. I find it interesting to hear their perspective on what it's like to hear it because, they're there for a reason because they have that drive themselves,